Thank you all for joining. This is the second brainstorming meeting in the direction of getting a few standards for URI and URL for Ethereum. To have some context for listener, we had our first meeting on May 23rd, inviting wallet devs, EIP authors to understand where we are with the standard. We already have one EIP, that is EIP 681 URL format for transaction request in final status. But from the last meeting, it looks like there is appetite for a few more EIPs depending on use cases. Thanks to Luke, who joined last meeting, and he has added usage for current schemes in the working HackMD file that I have just shared with you all. With further discussion, the group also looked into two proposals, EIP 4804 by Key and Samuelson, and there was this other proposal, EIP 5904 by Luke. Though we could not reach any decision on any of the proposals, but they are merged as draft and can be found in EIP's repo for reference. So that's for background. Meeting, we have two action items proposed by Matt. I'm not sure if we have any update on that, but yeah, I would like to open the floor for sharing progress and continue brainstorming. Wallet plus theft, and maybe it is something that we can be reaching out, but I know there are this wallet dev Discord channel.
Did not send anything. Did you send any messages, Sam?
No, I haven't had a chance to write the URL list standard yet. So
No worries. Yeah, sorry, I don't have any updates on the action items then.
Okay, not a worry. But if there are any further suggestion in moving in the direction, I know there were like two proposals which were discussed and we could not reach on which one or either of them are good enough to be pushed forward.
Right. I mean, I didn't feel like the QR code URI for adding the networks was really moving in the direction that we want to be moving in, but that doesn't preclude the author from continuing to push it forward. I just think that it's best to, approach it from a different direction.
Sorry, I was looking for unmute button. Yeah, that's right. That is available in the draft right now, and if author wants to continue moving in that direction, that is, they are free to do that. Key, you shared the proposal 4804 in the last meeting. I see that is still in the draft status. Is there anything that you would like to add or share, maybe the progress or anything new on that proposal? I'm not sure if you are talking. You are on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I probably will share my screen to have a quick introduction of what 4804 is going to do, and then we also give basically raise some questions on what we are going to fix with, for example, what uncertainties that we are facing, and then how we want to address this. So let me share screen. Yeah, so this is the basically forum discussion of EIP 4804. So basically 4804 is can be treated kind of like a HTTP Web3 version of HTTP. So the format is quite straightforward. If I using a very simple picture, something like that. Basically, it's going to replace the schema HTTP with F3. And then user is going to put what the contract that the user wants to locate. Basically, in HTTP protocol, it's going to locate a Web2 resources together with DNS and IP address. In the Web3 world, which we will project that we should have some decentralized way to locate the resources while we can inherit some good properties of HTTP. For example, human readable, and also other features like relative parse that widely used in HTTP URL. So basically, it replaced the DNS with ENS. So here is an example of using ENS.eth as the contract, which will be basically look at the contract on the target chain and then replace it with corresponding IP address. And then you can also provide user info and the chain, and then port number is replaced by the chain ID. So that actually the whole link is quite similar to the HTTP, so that we can easily use in existing, for example, browser that, when there's a pass in this Web3 URL, and then there's a relative pass that want to find the relative resources. Suppose it returns, for example, HTML, SVG. Any questions? Let me see.
Oh, I guess I was just wondering what the user info is used in this context.
Oh, so yes, the user info is basically when we translate to a Ethereum message, it will tell us what is the sender of the message. So this is the user info that we just directly borrow from HTTP standard, HTTP.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and definitely it can also be moved to the query path, but feel like this kind of more like if we treat the schema here, this is basically what we just put the Web3 part into the I would say Web2 part. Yeah. One application, actually, I'm thinking about there are basically two applications in this scenario. One application is basically kind of like a complementary of JSON RPC. Basically, we are able to, using a simple link, instead of query a JSON with some parameter, then we are able to, for example, check some balance or call basically arbitrary method of a contract and return its value back. This is kind of like a complementary of JSON RPC. Another one that I feel like is more excited about is able to basically return kind of a web content that is generated by the contract itself. So recently we see a lot some application like using on-chain contract that is able to generate web content such as SVG. One example that we found in the market is called they're called cyber brokers. So they basically upload all the SVG data to the blockchain, and then this is the one actually we create a subcontract because they don't have a way to be able to display their SVG that is composed on top of the Ethereum directly. So using our protocol, so basically this is gateway. So in Web3, this will be like something like that. So we look at this contract and call the random broker method together with the ID of the NFT token. Then it just call their contract and then we'll compose the SVG content, basically kind of like XML content, and put it together and return to a browser. But in this way, we don't rely to any, for example, other service like IPFS or centralized servers to basically render the medium content on top blockchain. It's kind of like the user not only owns the NFT, but also owns the metadata of the NFT together on top blockchain. So, question. Okay, cool. So that's the kind of application that we are now able to use in smart contract to build like a common gateway interface programs that can render HTML, SVG, which cyber brokers is already done. Maybe more complicated things like PNG that we may observe in other blockchain that may have cheaper upload costs, like for example Polygon or BSC. So something that we feel like in this way we are able to build a counterpart of Web3 versus the HTTP Web2 way, and be able to locate these resources in a decentralized way. And then we'll be able to, for example, to query them and then be able to display them in decentralized way. So one interesting thing is like, for example, we have upload all the ENS domains to the Rinkeby. So this is the 4, which is Rinkeby. Yeah, it's the message standard and call. Yeah, and then so all the ENS front end, we just upload it to the Rinkeby testnet, and so you can now just directly access using the ENS plus the with the chain ID. Together with, right now it's using the gateway method, but definitely in the future we feel like once the standard is being mature, then we can build kind of like a extension in Brave, Firefox, that we are able to directly access the Ethereum resources and display on top of the browser without using any, for example, DNS or centralized servers. So this is something that I think the applications for this standard. Yeah. Any questions? I'm not sure. I probably go too fast, or maybe can we make more smooth or.
No, I think that was pretty understandable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, there are a couple of questions that we want to further move this URL to kind of the final stage. One question I think a lot you have raised is regarding where is to put the user info or to fill by the wallet. Yeah, it's the wallet is the part of the JSON RPC core that will autofill by the wallet when we, for example, connect the wallet. But at the same time, actually, this is another way that is directly accessing the web resources via this link. So without using the JSON RPC. So this allows another way, basically complementary way to access the blockchain resources using just link only. So it can be done by both. We also provide an optional for the users to. So let's go back to the standard. So for example, if we treat an email message when we call inside Ethereum gas, basically it will have a field called there's a form. Sorry, there's a form field with a message sender. So in JSON RPC, basically people use the code of JSON RPC and supply this field to say, hey, which wallet is calling the contract or estimated gas, something like that. And here is because we want to build another way that without using JSON RPC, but human readable URL to access these resources and tell what the contract would tell, what's the corresponding return, some value. And then, so here we provide another way to basically to tell who is going to call this contract. But actually, most of the time, probably doesn't need to be used, because if user just queries, for example, somebody what's the ownership of NFT, what is the balance of somebody else, then basically when the caller basically will provide kind of like parameters of the user going to be looked up. Cool. Feel like it would better if the protocol wasn't Web3, like we are still going to call this Web3 in 10 years. So yeah, that's another thing that I would looking for basically public more opinions. So because like this is more like kind of like Web3 version of HTTP. Pressing. So
that was unrelated. That was related to Micah.
Okay. Yeah. definitely like EVM is also an option for us for to put it on the link. It's called basically calling the EVM results from the EVM. Yeah. So one is schema, and then there are also a couple of questions regarding what if we want to return a types like for example when the smart contract returns a binary, how we are able to pass this binary, treat it like as a web content by default, or just treat it kind of a type value. And there are also a couple of different format that we also uh, uh, provide. And so, but yeah, this is basically a couple of questions that we want to receive more opinions. Schema, what's the best schema? What was the where to put the user info, and then what's the how we are able to handle the type returns, and
What's the current leading one? Is it the one in the picture?
leading one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the one that's in the EIP is the one that's in the picture.
Okay. I guess like one thing to consider that I like don't really know how to trade off is that the in the picture there's not enough information, I think, to actually send the call because you need the exact type parameter of the methods. And I don't think that this gives that to you. Is that wrong or is that right?
Oh, for this this argument zero here.
Yeah, like if I were to do an ETH call here, how do I know what balance of translates to when we're talking about the call data, the 4
Yeah,
bytes
yeah,
prefix?
yeah. That's great questions. So here, like, so first part complement is method ID is just treated as string, and the rest of the arguments is just rest of parts, but just a list of arguments. And so here there's a rule that will be automatically detect those types, even if it's some format. For example, if it's pure integer, then it will just automatically treat as u int 256, unless there's a specific explicit type conversion before
Okay,
this.
so there's support for the explicit type definition, like in the ETH.
Yeah. So you can put
Okay,
address and then exclaimer mark, and then you call Zac.eth.
got it.
You use the address type for this one. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I think this is a good question, really good question, because here I feel like it probably we should convert it to explicit address for all the domain, because .eth may be treated as a Zac.eth file, because a file it can be ends with different suffix, may collide with existing name servers. Yeah. Oh yeah, so for this is a good question. Sam mentioned. So suppose we have do something with different string, address, or integer, how it looks like. So basically, oops. So when I type something web3 dash dash and a contract, and then I put method is called do something, and then suppose this is pure integer, then it will call u in 256. Because the master ID, when we translate it to the master ID, the master ID contains the integer itself, so that it will become like will be there's no ambiguity of the master ID. We just put it can successfully detect the type. And suppose it's address, then it will be something that is 20 bytes hex. Then it will also be detected as address, and so the address will be also in the master ID, and so that it will also create node ambiguity. Yes, if it is in 8 or in 16, then it has to be basically converted to something like this. Yeah.
So is there an order that it'll attempt to do things in? So like it'll try to parse it as a U int 8, then a U16, then a U, like and go on and on and on, and then or does it like, yeah? How is that defined?
I
Oh,
feel like it should
yeah.
just fail. But, well, I guess you could go down, but
So right now we have limited port that limited types that will automatically detect it, as you mentioned, because right now all those types in general their parameter space is non-overlap, so their order doesn't make too much difference because we also want to make this rule to be too complicated so the user can hardly understand. So right now you just automatically detect you in 256. And for other non-supported type, it must be parameterized. Because we are configured our most string support natively. String couldn't work because we are configured our most string. Yeah, I think the escape character will handle this. So I think in our test, so for example, for string, let me see, or bytes that, so actually there's another case that we can address basically the escape issue. For example, for strings of bytes, basically users can also use the hex way to improve if it is less human readable, but it can address also this ambiguity. And for really string, I do think this should also work. Let me check some example then. Yeah. So in this case, this will be converted to a string with this pure like the string character of this. Default encoding. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there should be no ambiguity, and especially once we support, for example, more maybe name series, then unstoppable domains, then we shouldn't make the meaning of the current URL to be different. This is something issue that we also found. So I'm not sure which ambiguity case right now we are discussing is the string of bytes or perhaps a string that contains the yep. I think this is the basic logic regarding the current automatic type. Yeah, this is something yeah. No, Web3 Nexus is just a Nexus that we're testing. Right now, we are fully integrated with ENS. So, for example, using ENS right now, it can take example, current the ENS. Let me go to an example of ENS. ENS homepage. That's the ENS that we register on top of the main chain. So it points to the website, the EVM that is on another chain. So let me connect to this website. We could check the so Yeah. So for ENS right now, we have implemented an interesting feature. So connect the wallet. Okay. So ENS home. This is the website we register. Basically, right now it has a text record tells what is the basically Web3 link and address, and this is basically gives a chain specific address, which is points to our testnet. And then this is short name of the testnet and also the contract address. So in that way, we are able to register the domain on ENS, but able to point to any address on EVM compatible chains. Chain 5 root 2 bytes. Any number of bytes. Bytes 40 or 30, number of bytes of 20 or 30. Oh, okay, yeah. Yep, that's something that we should just types bytes. Let's see. Yeah. I think I can make a change on the roots regarding the let me see the bytes handling and with the string. Yeah, I think that's something. Let me just make a copy of this. Moments.
So I know Matt mentioned that he may have to leave a little early. If there are any further recommendations for the improvement of this proposal, maybe we can mention that and continue discussing in the next call.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have right now. Definitely I will make some changes on this auto type detection. Yeah, that's something that basically we are building a side chain that is able to handle a large amount of sharded data on top of the EVM, so that we are able to reduce the upload cost of the building our decentralized website using the standard, based on top of standard.
And that requires a separate naming service?
No, it's still using the ENS because like we can use in the ENS to point to the any blockchain. So it's just using this so they can be able to link the cross-link the address on different blockchains.
But then why are you showing the .w3q suffix in your EIP as well, and prioritizing it over ENS even?
Oh yeah,
in the actual EIP.
Oh yeah. That's something when we start working
right
and then we see if ENS have already for the ENS have issue that cannot be addressed, but later we found the text record can put any of the text. So we just say, hey, why not we just fully integrate ENS? We also have a proposal to ENS for this integration.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm specifically talking about, I understand that you're storing a key value pair inside your ENS name. If you go up 3 lines from where your cursor is right now to resolving address from name service providers,
yeah.
The first bullet point is the Ethereum name service, and the second one is the W3Q name service.
Yeah.
And then in the section below it, you are numbered list this time. Number 1 is fetching the W3Q record from ENS. And number 2 is, okay, fair. All right, so that essentially is how to load the data from ENS.
Yeah,
Could you elaborate on why there is a separate name service specified .w3q above, however? So disconnected from ENS.
This is from ENS. This is old
right,
version.
but a couple lines above.
Sorry?
A couple lines above.
Okay.
Right there. Yep.
Uh-huh.
W3 name service with suffix W3Q.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that?
For this one? yeah, this is the version that we just create on a testnet to double check the cross. Basically, the name service that is the same as ENS, but just running on top of us, on top of the basically right now sidechain. But right now, the target is to fully integrate with ENS with this chain specific address that ENS is now able to support.
So then is there a need for a W3 naming service in this EIP?
No, we don't need any W3. It just can just using the ETH name service, and that's good enough to resolve all the things. You just provide like suppose like for example we have unstable domains, probably other blockchains name service, then it tells how we are able to recognize with their suffix and be able to basically resolve their address from these name services. Yeah. I think this is the old version, so we can put the latest version here. So in the latest version, so we are currently using Web3 text record, and then saying that this can return a chain-specific address, so that we are now able to use in the ENS to address another chain. Because originally for like this is not an option, so we have to rely on different name service on different blockchains, so that it can be located on different blockchains smart contracts. But now using EIP 36770, now we're able to just using ENS and then put the chain specific short names, and then now we're able to reference these addresses. So this is basically the change of when we say, hey, now we need extra name service from different chains resources. Now with this, we just using the ENS and can do all of these. Yes, of course.
I feel that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I think this is a really good point. So I can create another EIP for resolving.
Because you're already claiming or at least you're creating an EIP at the moment to essentially reserve the entire, not just the Web3 schema itself, which is very broad. Web3 is very broad. It's not just EVM calls, right? Mm-hmm. And you're reserving an entire schema for that. So hypothetically renaming the schema to the test is something. Furthermore, the W3 name service, I suppose with any name service, you should just, to quote, resolve using the name service of your choice, right? So if that is an unstoppable domain, then the browser or extension or whatever is resolving should just figure out how to do it themselves. If it ends with W3Q, then they should just figure out how to do it themselves. That should not be something specifically described in the specification, right? Like that can be abstracted away, as previously stated.
But I feel like probably we can put ENS in here because like I think this ENS more de facto.
But you're using an Ethereum proposal, an Ethereum improvement proposal, in an attempt to modify and standardize a key value pair for an ENS address, correct?
For an ENS at text record.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're trying to claim the Web3 key for the text records of ENS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Using an Ethereum improvement proposal.
Okay, so probably that would be better in the kind of like ENS proposal.
So that can be abstracted, like that can be removed from your EIP. Uh-huh. That is something that you need to discuss with ENS themselves, right? And you can run a separate proposal for that. There's a whole other process for that. But that's not something I think that we decide on here. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Because those are ENS decisions.
Yeah. So, yeah, sure. I think I can. Yeah, definitely can propose specific on different basically name servers to see how they can integrate it. Sure.
Right. And as much as I understand, you'd like to have the Web3 key, right?
The text record. Yeah.
I think the text record, right?
Yeah.
You might want to contemplate potentially settling for W3Q as the text record or something along those lines, right? Or whatever the schema ends up being. Because we wouldn't want you're already following the original URI URL spec so closely that in the hypothetical event somebody does not set this currently named Web3 key value pair, right, on their ENS record, that it could be a URL that looks like Web3. But do you know how with most browsers, if I type in google.com, it automatically goes to https :/google.com?
Yes.
Right. We wouldn't want somebody only copying everything after the schema, pasting it in there, and instead of it automatically going to web3 : / automatically going to https, and somebody has already claimed the contract name or somebody has already overtaken it in another way, right? Because what will end up happening then is you can make 4804 URLs, right, that are 4804 compatible, your EIP, but that if misentered ever so slightly, go straight to an HTTPS site, which is a high risk of, it's essentially introducing another vector for attackers to come in, if that makes sense, right? Because it'd be a lot easier to spoof certain URLs.
But
the
I'm not
contract name.
sure. So if there's a short name, so for example, if there's just something .ath, then definitely it may translate to HTTPS. But if the user provide the full schema, no matter it's Web3 or EVM, then I think that the browsers, will automatically say, oh, sorry, either I cannot handle this URL, or this is something actually we have basically.
But this is something you want actual browsers to resolve.
Right now the browser, so the Firefox now is already support this one. It just resolve it and translate it to the gateway. Just copy and put the gateway there.
So you got approval from Firefox?
Yeah, we already
have
have
the Web3 schema.
Have the extension because it has less restriction on. So I'm going to share.
Using an extension, okay.
Yeah.
So Firefox is not officially affiliated with or approving of you using the Web3 schema. Got it.
No, not yet. Yeah.
It's just an extension.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Firefox, let me share my screen. So this Firefox, so 3 EMS homepage.eth. So you translate to the gateway, and then it just go as the same as the crown. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you're essentially building an entire EIP around Web3Q.
Web3Q.
Sprinkling in a Firefox extension, sprinkling in an ENS name, and some other things, right?
I mean, around this standard, ERC 4804. The extension is not part of the specification. Yes, it's just a way to allow the Firefox basically users to directly type this and then convert.
Right.
Yeah.
But this specification was, if I'm not mistaken, a way to call EVM functions, right?
Yes.
And not a way to sneak, in quotation marks, Web3Q into the EIP.
No. It's just basically it just work with EVM. It's just how to translate a URL to an EVM message. And so with this, we can do a lot of applications, for example, on-chain web generation or even website or all kinds of things. And then you also have it coupled with ENS so that we are now able to reference this resource. Actually, this trace a lot of people are saying, hey, how we are able to build on system of decentralized website and how to do that. Yeah, how to pass Web3 yeah. Let's see. Should we move to separate? Sure. Yeah. Let me stop my sharing.
Yeah. Thank you, Key and Luke, for this discussion. It is important that we learn about the proposal and their statuses. I would be happy to organize a peep and eat session for this particular proposal to maybe explain it in a detailed way, so it can be followed by other implementers. And yeah, I will be happy to connect with you offline to get this thing arranged whenever you're ready for that.
Sure.
All right, coming back to the main discussion here. Thank you to all the participants who have joined. I see one new face here, one new name on the screen, Ricardo, who is an author of EIP 2400. At the moment, this proposal is currently in stagnant status. The proposal is URL format for transaction receipts. Maybe Ricardo, if you would like to take some time and talk about the proposal briefly and let us know how do you feel about it and if you are interested in pursuing that proposal.
So yeah, thank you. So this proposal I've written some years ago, and I tried to extend an existing EIP about the transaction requests. And we were using the transaction requests standard in status to when you are in a chat, you can ask someone to send you a transaction. So this one user sends the request, and then you need a way to answer back in a standard that the software can understand automatically. So then me and my colleague, my work colleague, Eric, we've written this EIP just to specify the transaction receipt, and if there was some contract call to translate, because the 4 bytes, and you want to be able to know exactly everything about the transaction. But for status, we are basically using just a transaction receipt, because for one user to another, there is no contract calls, or usually it's just a normal transfer. But of course, if it's a ERC20 token, and then you have a transfer, you have the method there too. It's a little bit more complex. Something I don't like about this EIP I've written is that it's not very elegant. I mean, it's a little bit ugly. Like the full name Ethereum dash transaction, and I feel like it could be better, but it works. It's simple and straightforward. It's just that. If you supports only ENS, the default ENS, because this is what we currently use in status and everything uses. And we won't have no plans in supporting other thing than ENS. That's it.
Sweet.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, please.
How do you feel about moving it from stagnant to final? Do you think anything, as the original author, do you think you'd make any changes, or leave it the way it is?
I think it's working fine. Maybe we could look better about the contract calls and something about the multi-chains, because there is a parameter there that you can specify what is the chain ID. And maybe we can make something better than that. But for now, I think I don't know all the use case, because a lot of things are changing in the Ethereum world with all these L2s and it's supposedly at the time when I've written it to be compatible with everything I knew that is on the Ethereum ecosystem, but maybe something now changes.
Just to maybe add here, if I understand correctly, you may not be very much interested into moving into different status and would like to bring some changes. If that's the case, there is a status available on Ethereum standard that is called like withdrawn. You can probably withdraw it, or if you think that you can make some improvement to the present proposal and would like to continue doing it, so you can let it live in stagnant for some more time, and whenever you make those changes, you can bring it back to draft or to review, so we can start discussing it.
Well, since we are having this call now, that I see that there is some interest in the community about this EIP, I can move it to final if you need it. Right now it's a draft, because as far as I know, it's just Status that is using this. But if more people are going to use it, we should move it to final. We should just agree if everything is correct. And if you feel something to improve, I'm open to suggestions.
So far, Status fully supports it.
Yeah.
From what I know, I personally really like your EIP. I see opportunity for it in a few applications, not just in peer-to-peer messaging, or in this case, the way Status does messaging. But being able to do transfers between people, or being able to get a receipt of a certain thing, or some kind of feedback from a stagnant machine, or some way to, on paper, or through an email, still provide a link to a transaction without specifically like needing to be affiliated with a certain scanning site or a certain whatever. So I do like the proposal. I have also written the ETH URL parser from Bruno Bar 79, the PR for it, that introduces parsing of EIP 2400 URLs. So there is currently a JavaScript package available that allows you to take in one of these URLs and then turn it into an object that simply says, this is the prefix, it's TX, the address is this, the variables are this, etc., etc., etc. So there is already tooling written for it. So when it comes to that, even though it was created in 2019 or end of 2019, I also think it is worth moving to final.
So something that you mentioned for other use cases, actually in Status, we have a problem that we don't know the transaction history from an address, because when you send a transaction to some Ethereum address, there is no notification. You just know because you download the blockchain or you go to Etherscan. But we were thinking about using these transaction receipts and sending them in the Waku network, that is like a Whisper network. And then you don't have to have an external service. Of course, only wallets that implements this new mechanic would send these transaction receipts to this decentralized Whisper network. And then we could like remove a centralized server, because right now Status, when it loads the wallet, it needs to go to Etherscan to download the transaction list. And if we had something like this, we could have like instantaneous. You receive a transaction, you know immediately, even when the transaction is pending. So that's a way to improve the ecosystem as a whole. Because right now, pending transactions don't appear in Status because of this. So it first needs to be included in a block. Yeah, there is a lot of use cases we can find on top of that. I'm already thinking about that. But yeah, we needed other wallets to implement this, using this transaction receipt to send to your Waku network, and then we don't need Etherscan.
Sounds good.
Just again, a piece of information here. This proposal is currently in draft status and it cannot be moved to final as yet. This has to go through different statuses, and the best one, if you are willing to move ahead, would be to move it into the review status. By doing so, you would be attracting EIP editors and community review. I'm assuming, okay, let me quickly check. Yes, I find a magician link here for discussion. So we may have to start discussing again about this proposal and then probably reach to different wallets to get it implemented. Even if implementation is work in progress, we can continue moving it towards final, but the statuses has to be from draft to review to last call and then final. From review to last call, there is no fixed duration. Whenever you are ready, you can move the proposal from review to last call. But once the proposal moves into the last call, it has to stay there for 14 days. And that 14 days is for aggressively getting feedback on the proposal. And then we can probably move it to the final status.
Okay, I will work on that. I will call the reviewers.
Yeah, the moment you create a pull request and it is merged, I'm sure that it will get attention from EIP editors and obviously from the community. Whenever any proposal comes into active discussion, people come forward and share their feedback. And moreover, the catalyst also organize a video series on EIP special, in which you will get an opportunity to explain all about the proposal and maybe take some questions from community. And yeah, we will try to help you out to share more about this proposal to get it implemented in wallets.
Thank you. I'm very happy.
Well, thank you. So the idea of this call is to get moving the proposals which are already into stagnant status and help out getting consensus on, like, if there are more than one proposal of the same category serving the same use case. As of now, from the list, it doesn't look like that there is any other EIP which is in competition to that. Please someone correct me if there is any and I'm missing on that. If not, then it's a good idea to move the proposal.
In competition to 2400?
That's what, yeah.
No, there are none, I think.
Yeah, I think it is the one only. And thank you, Luke, for adding all the use for current schemes. That is helping us understand what we are looking for and probably giving us at least, like, which all usage standards we need to push forward. So thanks for that. How do people think about getting back on a call in next 2 weeks and see where we are on the progress? I know in the last meeting we discussed about reaching out to different wallets. We were not able to connect that, but Sam earlier mentioned that he will try to reach out to them. And even from our end, we'll try to do so. Are we good on like the same time?
Yep, sure.
Sounds good.
Very well. So yeah, we still have a couple of more minutes. Anyone has any final thoughts to share?
I was wondering if any of you are coming to ETH Prague or ETH New York up in the next week or 2 weeks.
I can say about me, I'm not. I'm so very sorry about that. But we have some people in ETH Prague. If we would like to connect to people, maybe you can mention it on the Ethereum Catheters Discord. Whoever are going there may be able to get in touch
Sounds
with
good.
you.
Thank you.
Cool. So, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope to continue discussion. You can also leave your comment, thoughts, feedback in the EIP editors channel.